Our friend, the great one, Mark Levin, just literally lighting up House Oversight Committee Chairman Trey Gowdy after the congressman praised the FBI for spying on the Trump campaign. Congressman Gowdy, what's happened to you? Take a listen.
And he's drawn a conclusion. There's nothing wrong with this FBI informant. The FBI did exactly what the FBI is supposed to do, and the American people agree. And, of course, Trey Gowdy knows that the American people agree because nobody speaks for the American people like Trey Gowdy. Did they have an informant, a.k.a. a spy, at the DNC to chase down the Russians who were hacking the DNC's emails? No. If they're trying to protect us and the candidates in the election from the Russians, as we pointed out last week, why weren't there informants in Jill Stein's campaign or Hillary Clinton's campaign or Bernie Sanders' campaign?
Boom, checkmate. Here with us, Deputy Assistant to the President, Fox News National Security Strategist Sebastian Gorka, former Secret Service agent, NRA contributor Dan Bongino, author, next month, July, coming, The Russian Hoax, the illicit scheme to clear Hillary Clinton and frame Donald Trump. You know him as Fox News legal analyst Gregg Jarrett. I have an important question for you. Let me start, though, with Dan Bongino responding to the great one and Trey Gowdy. Why weren't there spies in anyone else's campaign? Great question. How is it that, as Gregg has pointed out, the interrogatories in Great Britain by Christopher Steele, he said, oh, it's raw intelligence, maybe 50-50, used to get FISA warrants on American citizens, one that happened to be in the Trump campaign?
They weren't spies in other campaigns, Sean, because they were spying on Trump. They weren't spying on the Russians. You know, listen, I don't know if Trey Gowdy wafted a little of that swamp air up his nose or something.
He never saw the documents. How could he make that comment?
He never saw the documents. But he made a comment so irresponsible and reprehensible, Sean. He said, Americans should be confident the FBI worked the case as they should have. Really? Then why'd they hide the case from congressional oversight? They hid it. This is all out there for anyone to see for 8 months when they were supposed to brief them quarterly, while they simultaneously, Sean, leaked the existence of the case to the New York Times and then leaked later the conversation about Mike Flynn to the Washington Post.
Everything
That's
the New York
FBI
Times
way? No, it's not.
Everything the New York Times is reporting is now boomeranging, even within their own reports. You know, they just revealing, you know, like spies, the information that they don't mean to reveal. Dr. Gorka, let me ask you about this McCabe secret memo that I talked about. Again, I think that is now backfiring on them as well.
Absolutely. It's the ultimate boomerang, all of this. Look at that video of Ben Rhodes, and then you will understand everything. The night of the election, Ben Rhodes, the master of lying, has no words to explain the loss of Hillary Clinton. This is why they were doing what they were doing. She had to win at all costs. That's why an intelligence asset, whatever you want to call it, was put into the Trump campaign. And let's not argue about whether it's a spy or an informant, because that's irrelevant. Sean, we need to know one answer to one question. Why was the operation started? We still don't know. An Australian ambassador, a professor in the UK, now a Maltese professor in Rome. It stinks to high heaven. And Trey Gowdy,
we
who
know
hasn't
so much
read the
corruption.
documents.
Look at what I said about Martha
outrageous.
Stewart. The fix is in for Hillary. She didn't obstruct justice, but Martha Stewart did. Okay, do we have equal justice under the law? Look at unmasking. Look at surveillance. Look at leaking intelligence. Fixing Hillary campaign. You know, FISA abuse. All of this is, you know, it's rotting from the head down, and the FBI rank and file are going to expose it. This dovetails nicely, this whole McCabe memo. And first of all, the president could fire Comey because he didn't like the color of his socks. He doesn't need a reason. But when you add that to what John Solomon is now, he is saying, FBI documents, bring it right to the Obama administration.
Absolutely.
And I've seen more than I can say.
Peter Strzok sent a text message to his mistress, Lisa Page, on August 5th. He had just signed the documents opening the Trump-Russia collusion case. And in that text, he says, the White House is running this. The chronology of events tells you what happened.
So we're going to see a Peter Strzok memo, the guy that wrote the exoneration of Hillary,
right
before the investigation,
signed the papers. The guy that the Trump investigation
immediately ran over to
and
Great
says
Britain.
The White House is running this. What does that mean? President
the Obama White House.
Of course, it meant President Obama, who's being briefed all the time by John Brennan, the CIA director, who is the instigator of the phony dossier.
Another big reveal by the New York Times they didn't mean. For the FBI to interview this Australian that met and was drinking with Papadopoulos Downer, it had to be negotiated by our State Department. That means John Kerry knew. That means that probably Obama knew. Sure. That's another sign pointing to Barack Obama and company.
On June 20th, Steele writes his phony, fictitious dossier first memo. He immediately calls the FBI. The FBI, 2 weeks later, flies to London at Orbis headquarters and meets with Christopher Steele, who tells them all about Trump-Russia collusion. That was phony evidence. 3 weeks later, the FBI opens its investigation, and only thereafter do they start looking into Papadopoulos.
And now we know the timeline is off, too, because
right.
It started in the spring. All right. Last word from both Dan and Dr. Gorka. Dan.
Sean, I think the next shoe to drop is the information about, Russian dirt on Hillary was clearly pulled out of the campaign by the FBI. Who pushed it in there? That's going to be the next shoe to drop.
Okay, paying close attention. And Dr. Gorka.
The suspect number one is John Brennan, and he wouldn't have moved a muscle unless Obama knew as well.
Boom. Okay. It's all collapsing, and they're turning on each other. Did you notice that? Cabe, Comey, it's all going to be a circular firing squad against each other.
And Peter Strzok and Lisa Page.
Oh, can't wait.